and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker with SoaringHigher.rocks, and through my books and programs and training, my heart is really to help people in self-esteem and self-image, their communication skills, professional image, business etiquette, and career development programs. So this is kind of an extension of the program that I was doing before about holding on to your dreams, and this is part of, you have seeds of greatness into you, and a lot of times we have dreams, like I mentioned before, that have been set on the shelf, and we think, wow, so much has happened in life, I will never accomplish that now. And no, that is not true, because I've seen too many miracle stories of people to know that if we had dreams when we were younger, but something got in the way and stopped them, that we can still pull them back off the shelf and get back in there. And I'm doing some of that myself, and I know a lot of other people are too, that are friends. So what I wanted to start off with today is never give up. Wow, a lot of times we do give up, and sometimes we may give up for a while, but then, oh my gosh, this passion in my heart keeps coming back to me. Well, that means you're not supposed to give up on it forever. Maybe for a while to tend to something else, or to heal a heart, or to change relationships and different things that we need to change, but never give up, okay? So these are actually excerpts from The Best Way Out is Through by an author named B.J. Gallagher. And so a lot of times it's not that we're going to get out of something, but we have to go through it. But as I've noticed in my own life and the lives of so many other people and in testimonies and stories, that when we go through a terrible, tough situation, when we've gotten to the other side of that situation, wow, are we stronger? Are we fighters in a good way? Have we learned so much that now we can carry into our new life? So when you're going through something, go through it. Keep your eye on the end result. You can't constantly look at, oh God, what am I? I'm in such a mess right now, which is easy to do. But go through it. Keep your eye focused on the end goal. Think, I am going through this right now. I am having a tough time. But look what I'm doing. I'm gaining new insights. I'm gaining new strengths. I'm gaining new skills that I can use later on, even if they're caregiving skills that you're learning to maybe help other people. It could be all kinds of things that you're learning as you go through these sometimes fiery trials. But take all those things that you're learning so that you can use them as a stronger, wiser person when you hit that mark, hit that area that you really want in your life, that you really desire. So I love stories about Abraham Lincoln. And a lot of times I'll have a bulleted list of things that he went through. This is a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a story. But one of the most amazing stories of someone who went through so much. So I'm going to kind of look at this list from this book. And The Best Way Out is Through. Okay? So he says, many people do not know that Abraham Lincoln endured hardships and heartaches throughout the course of his life, at times struggling with severe depression. We're not talking about just being down, but severe depression, which can totally sometimes paralyze a person so that they can't move forward. Well, my gosh, he said he spent his childhood working on the family farm with long days of back-breaking toil. I can just imagine back then when they did not have modern machinery. The machineries were their bodies for the most part, were just little handmade tools. Unfortunate circumstances forced the family to abandon their beloved farm and move to what later became Indiana. Well, what had happened was in land grabs and things, his father and mother lost almost all their land. It was taken away from them, so they had no choice but to move to another area that later became Indiana. And so that was something that was very painful. If we lose what we feel like is pretty much our whole life, people's houses that have been destroyed in fires and storms or different things, we lose that. It's really hard sometimes to ever feel like we're going to be able to get back in life and accomplish anything. but he kept going. Okay, so then it says his mother died when he was only 10 years old, leaving his father to raise the children. That in itself would be extremely difficult, trying to work a farm, trying to do everything, trying to raise kids. And so that was really tough. He went to work for a very unscrupulous or kind of a sneaky, bad businessman who ran the business into the ground, and then Abe was left without a job again and no money coming in at the time. He ran for the Illinois state legislature and lost, which would be disappointing. He was 8th out of 13, okay? So that would kind of burst your bubble. He signed a note to buy into a general store with a friend, but within a year, they were out of business, okay, broke, overwhelmed by a better organized competitor in the same town. There again, that would be a real ego buster and a real heartbreaker. So after that, he fell in love with a lady named Anne Rutledge, and they were planning to get married, but then she died suddenly and absolutely broke his heart. Then he went into a severe depression again. Okay, he fell in love then and later married Mary Todd. Remember the name Mary Todd Lincoln? Together they had 4 sons. However, 3 of those 4 boys never reached adulthood. They died before they even became adults. So talk about feeling abandoned again, feeling forsaken. Your beloved children, 3 out of the 4 die before they even become adults. So another really painful thing for him to go through. He was finally successful in getting elected to state legislature and made 2 attempts to become speaker, but he was defeated both times. There again, kind of hard on the person and their heart to feel like, oh gee, am I a failure again? Why can't I ever get any farther? He wanted to run for Congress, but failed to achieve the party's nomination there as well. Okay, so he ultimately won a seat in Congress, yay. But when he sought to run for the U.S. Senate, he was not able to muster the amount of votes, and then he had to withdraw from the election there again too. So all of his life, pretty much, he had this heart to be a leader, he had this heart to help, he had this heart to make a difference in people's lives, and he kept going and kept pushing and kept trying through all those very painful rejections, but he wasn't going to give up because that's what was in his heart, in his nature. He was selected as vice presidential candidate, but due to a late entry in the field, he didn't have enough votes again, and so he had to back out. He ran for the Senate again, but he did not win the seat because the legislature, his group, did not have enough control. Wow. And so you think of one defeat after another, how many people would have gone, you know what, I keep trying, I keep losing, I'm not getting anywhere, I couldn't even hold on to a business, let alone a seat in government, so, you know, heck with it, I'm just going to give up. No, he never did, because he knew that that was his purpose, his calling. We all have a purpose and we all have a calling. So really think about what is your purpose and your calling, because you do have one. We all do. We're all meant to achieve something, have a purpose that is meaningful. So it says, but despite all the struggles and setbacks, at no point did Lincoln give up either personally or professionally. Neither one. He did not give up. He endured great pain and great sadness, but he did not let those circumstances stop him from achieving his purpose. Okay, he just kept going. And finally, he ran for the highest office in the land, and he won and became the 16th president of the United States. Okay, at the time, the country was facing its worst internal crisis ever, which was the Civil War, which was horrible and brutal and heartbreaking for so many. But that was his main purpose, so that he could end the war, end the slavery, and unite the nation. That was his calling and his purpose. Okay, so he did that. We know he had a bad end because some people didn't like what he was doing. So if ever there was a man who exemplified perseverance and the enduring of personal discomfort, it was Abraham Lincoln. If he could have had such pain in his life and still achieved the goals that he did, How can I or you, how can we let discomfort stop us from achieving our own goals? I don't think we really have an excuse. I mean, I really, really don't. I think about all of those situations. You know, again, I've shared in the past, Bob Wieland was a Vietnam veteran who lost his legs clear up to his hips, and he could have just stayed in a veteran's place. But he worked out his body really hard, the rest of his body. I mean, he had no legs. They were off clear up to his hips. And so he thought, no, I'm not going to do this. I will not. I want to be someone who can help other people achieve their dreams. So he worked out his body until he got the upper part of his body very big, very strong. And he entered an international weightlifting championship, and he won. Thought, wow, how awesome is that? He won. I assume it was with like bench presses and stuff like that he could do. But then they had the audacity to take away his award because he was not wearing regulation clothing, which included shoes. The man had no legs. And how many at that point would say, hey, heck with this. I'm done. I give up. I mean, my gosh, I did all of this. I worked hard. I won. And yet they took it away from me. But did he let that stop him? No. He built up his upper body strength even more, had apparatuses made for his fists to put on and for the trunk of his body, and he walked across America on highways to be able to raise money and attention, raise money for food, but then also to gain attention for people who had some sort of bad thing happen to them. That don't give up on your dreams. You can do whatever you set your mind to. And so he'd put his arms down and he'd swing his body forward, and he'd put his arms down and swing his body forward. And he did that. I remember seeing a picture of him on a road, you know, and a bus came by, and he's clear down there, you know. So he's breathing in exhaust fumes and everything. And no, I'm not giving up. I'm going to show people that they, no matter what they've been through, and here he had about half of his body gone, they can achieve their dreams. So think of Bob Wieland when things get really painful and really hard. And, you know, we all get not all, but most of us have setbacks from keeping us from something we really desire that's in our heart, but don't ever let that stop you. Think of Bob Wieland. Think about that violin player that I mentioned last time that didn't even have a shoulder, and yet she played beautifully. And so a lot of it's right up here in what we're going to do. So always think about, if he can do that, Abe Lincoln can do that, we can do ours, all right? Because we're not running for president, but we have a lot of goals that will impact our lives as well as our family lives, and could be the whole world in general. So then when you think about your career, we'll talk a little bit more about career now and getting into that. So many times, how we feel about ourselves, if we feel like we're smart, if we're intelligent, if we had our education, we feel good about ourselves. Sometimes if we don't feel like we've accomplished very much, we hold ourselves back. Oh, I'm not worthy of trying for this. I don't have the money. I don't have the looks. I don't have the clothes. I don't have the college degree, and blah, blah, you know, and on and on and on. But no. I've known women who, just because I worked with the women, men too, but that have become extremely successful, have made a ton of money, have traveled all over Europe and everything with the money they made, that don't have an ounce of college. So we can't let that keep us from a dream, thinking, well, I don't have what the other people have. Oh, you have a lot. And the main thing is attitude, and we'll talk about that. So to successfully market yourself, which is so important, especially if you're trying to get into a new or different career, you want to sell your skills and experience that can include things, especially for younger people. It's like, well, I haven't really worked jobs. I mean, you know, maybe I worked at an ice cream store or grocery store, what? And so, but, you know, I say include any clubs that you belong to, anything that you do, any athletics, any leadership that you did, and anything like that, organizations that you belong to, even, you know, in high school or as a young person, because there's a lot of skills. You know, maybe you're a volunteer parent working with coaches and helping kids with baseball, football, whatever the case may be. You still have maybe mediation skills. You might be able to just give kids a lot of advice, help them with their attitude, give them a lot of encouragement. So you have a lot of skills. We all do as we've grown up. So think about that. And I remember talking to a farmer once when I was helping him with his resume, because I've helped people to write resumes and do career development. And he said, well, I'm a farmer and I don't want to farm anymore. I'm just tired of it. But what do I do? How do I make a resume out of being a farmer? And so I said, well, I mean, you bought products, right? You did inventory, you did purchasing, you did your books, your accounting, and yes, and you have knowledge of a lot of agrarian and agricultural products and what they can do and things to watch out for. Yes. I said, okay. So we sat down and I took everything that he did to run his farming business, because it was a lot more than going out plowing and feeding animals, and created a resume where he was able to get a job working for, and I think it was an animal feed company, but he had all the knowledge, and it wasn't farming. He was actually working in more, I believe it was like sales, customer service, and bringing business in, because he had the knowledge to do it. He had actually done it himself with his own hands. And so, you know, you always would think, what have I done that will help? I mean, I remember working with a college professor who wanted to get into the corporate world and out of academia, and he had a 9-page curriculum vitae, and I said, that's not gonna fly. Most people, you know, within the first 2 minutes are gonna go, oh, I like this resume, or nah, I'm not, because they're not gonna take the time to read that. So I got it down to a 3-page resume, and he still had things in there, which is still too long, but that he wouldn't let go of. And then I said, well, okay, let's do a cover letter. So we worked on the cover letter, and I said, you have as a hobby in your cover letter that you like to frolic on the beach? And I said, that's not gonna fly either. You can't do that. That's giving a little too much information. He said, no, I like to do that, and I'm leaving it in my cover letter. So I don't know what happened to him. He just kind of went off and did his own thing, but I think that's probably something that was very detrimental to him. So, you know, we want to say what we do, give people an idea of the kind of temperament we have. You know, when I was interviewing people for jobs, it wasn't just the job skills that the company was requiring, it was the culture. It was the kind of the temperament of the company and what the people were like, because if I saw that the company was maybe very regimented, very strict, maybe kind of hardcore to work for, and yet this person had all the skills the company was looking for, but they were more lively, they were more warm and fuzzy maybe, they needed a lot of colorful things in their lives. It's like, no, I don't think this would be a good fit, because they would look at each other like, well, you know, what are you doing? I don't like this. And so I always think who you are is important, but attitude is the most critical, and the willingness to get out there and really learn new things with the right attitude. So when you write a definition of who you are in the workplace, that's all of your skills, that's all of your abilities, but you also need to think about your temperament and your personality and what draws you to people or a company and what would repel you, because too many times, and I've done this myself, you get into a job thinking, okay, well, it's a job, I need a job, so I'm gonna take the job. And then it's like, oh man, I can't stand any of this stuff. I'm sitting in a corner on a computer when what I really want to do is be with people and communicate with people and be more in a service industry. So, you know, we need to think about all those things. The package of skills, who you are physically, not that you're going to write those down, but are you energetic? And you'd have to sit doing, like I said, being on a computer all day? Is that going to bother you? Mentally, how strong are you mentally, and what makes you happy mentally? What can you think of, focus on, or what would maybe be down and depressing or boring, you know, because a lot of times that can happen too. And emotionally, is this a job where you're helping people and that's emotionally positive because you have a heart to help people? Or is it going to be something like, gosh, I can't handle all these problems from all this customer service, that's not what I want to do, that's not who I am. So always think about those things too when you're creating your package of skills, what you're good at. And you know, when companies talk to people about hiring them, they want what's in it for them. They don't want to know what's in it for you. They want to know what's in it for them. So sometimes people will go on and on and on about, I do this and I do that, but it has to be connected to what the company is looking for, because there are so many times where studies have shown that companies usually would rather hire somebody with the right attitude that's very positive and engaged in what the job requires and teach them technical skills rather than take someone who has all of the technical skills but they don't have a personality or the drive or anything like that to really accomplish. Because when I worked for some architects and engineers, they had awesome geologists, awesome scientists who would be working, or engineers that could do all the technical work, but then these folks were getting really down and frustrated because they were told they needed to go out and go to networking events and really promote the company and what they did. And it's like they had no personality for that. And I'm not knocking that. They were being forced to go into an area where they were very uncomfortable instead of really focusing on doing what they needed to do. So I always think about that too. And sometimes companies will almost be coercive in requiring things that they want the person to do. So you've got to check into the company too as well. So compile a list of as many achievements, both personally as professionally, as you can. And so again, anything that's valuable, saleable skills, write a job description of each achievement that you had so that you can really focus in on the company needs this and these are the things that I've done that are exactly what the company is looking for. They want to know how you can help them, what experiences. It used to be that a lot of times in interviews as well, they would ask hypothetical questions. What would you do in a case of this happening, or someone always coming in late, or someone was always arguing? And then it turned around and it's like, no, we're not asking hypothetical questions. We're asking you real questions. Tell me about a situation where you had someone that was combative or disagreeable. Tell me about a situation where you did everything you could to make a sale. The company said, no, we're not interested in selling right now, and how you turned it around or what you did. And so you always want to think of those things, real experiences. They don't want hypothetical anymore. They want to know exactly what you've done, how you resolved it, what the outcome was of it. So you want to think about those things too. And then examine your career skills. And so these are very, very important. I've seen over the years dealing with people's temperaments and personalities and the desires and goals that they have. Again, sometimes a parent might want to live vicariously through a son and daughter in sports and music and something like that. And no, we have to do what we were meant for. And so I'll just wrap up with this. Influence. Maybe you're an influencer. You hear that word a lot now on all these, like TikTok and different places. Influencer. You have a knack for influencing people. Why? Because you have good leadership skills, good speaking, marketing skills, whatever the case may be. That does not mean influencing people through coercion or manipulation. That means you can really influence people because you're engaged in this product or this service and in helping people or providing something for them. Organize. A lot of people who have very good organizational skills are perfect with someone who's maybe a creative, artistic person, but they have no organizational skills. So think about that, who you can connect with. But organizational skills are very, very, very important, and we all need those. Helps you derive so much enjoyment out of personally helping people, encouraging, teaching, nurturing, counseling. Those could be areas that you want to get into if you have that heart to help people. You're creative, you're artistic, theatrical, you like to design sets, products, services, technical things, but you're a creative person, great new recipes. So think, am I creative and am I trying to do something that's really technical, but I'm a creative person who likes to design things? Think about that too. Am I analytical? Am I using my math and analyzing skills and scientific achievements? And so think, yeah, that's the kind of position I need to be in, something where I can use my analytical skills, and then maybe I need to connect with someone who's more the organizer or the creative person to help me partner with the business or to hire that kind of person. So always think about that. Producer, you like to see the fruit of your labor. It could be with, what are you making with your hands? Are you creating things? You're a producer. Maybe you like to produce movies too, as far as that goes. But I mean, do you like to produce things where you can actually see a craft or see something that you've done and you love the end product? Some people just go day to day and do what's in front of them. but are you one who wants to really create and then see the end product? So that would be an area that you'd want to get into. Or adventuresome. My son is in federal law enforcement, and I can't see him sitting at a desk being an accountant. That would drive him crazy. It would drive me crazy too, as far as that goes. But if you're adventuresome, you don't want a job just to have a job where you're going to be sitting there doing things, you know, counting numbers, doing number crunching, or doing things that are boring and handling papers all day. You need to get in something where you're adventuresome and you're very active. So always think about those things that you want to do, what drives you, what makes you smile, what makes you excited, what makes you energetic. And those are the type of things that you really want to focus on, because that's your purpose. Somewhere in there is what's making you thrive, what's making your heart really bounce. So think about those things, and we'll talk about more of that later. And thank you so much. Again, sit down quietly, write out these things, get your thoughts together, and we'll talk more about it next time. Thank you.